Welcome in, everybody, to Grind Time, powered by Full-Time Fantasy in the FFWC. I'm your host, Billy Muzio, and I am joined today by Theo Gremminger. Theo is a high-stakes expert as well. He drafts in multiple platforms, and we are sharing a FFWC World Champion main event draft today. We are going to be drafting from the 4-hole, and our team nail today is the Blue Whale Hunters. We are after a blue whale that's inside this draft. I do not need to mention his name. Everyone knows who he is. On a play on words from Frank over at the FF Expo. I thought it was fun. But before we get started, we have a quick word here from Chase Edmonds, and then we're going to jump into this board.
This is Chase Edmonds, running back for the Miami Dolphins, and you are listening to Grind Time, powered by Full-Time Fantasy. Go Fins.
All right. Chase Edmonds said his word. I don't know about you, but I'm a huge Chase Edmonds fan, Theo. Where do you stand on Chase Edmonds this year?
I love Chase Edmonds. I feel like he's like a RB15 type who's a little bit discounted. And I think you're starting to see him a little less discounted than maybe we saw at the beginning of the summer. But yeah, I love Chase Edmonds. He allows you to do different kinds of builds as well, knowing he'll be there.
That's right. So the draft just kicked off. I'm going to get the board pulled up here. Christian McCaffrey goes in the 1-hole. And this has kind of been a common theme. We've seen Christian McCaffrey kind of slide up and overtake Jonathan Taylor as the consensus 101. JT kind of ranges from that 2-hole, which he just went here, to Cobb Nation, to anywhere to the 4-hole at times. What's your take on well, first we're pick, and you and I already know who we've talked about, so I'll lock them in. We're going to go Diggs here. But what's your take on the order for the top three? Do you have any preference? Is it dependent upon the format, or walk me through it?
So in FFWC, I would consider Jefferson at the 1, and I think 2 for me would be McCaffrey. But you could make a case for either. I think like the thing about McCaffrey is you have to be an optimistic drafter to some extent, and I think he's the best bet for like a 30-point per game season. If somebody's going to do it, it's McCaffrey. I understand the love of Jonathan Taylor. I think he's a tremendous talent. I just don't think he's got that upside that McCaffrey does, and that we saw Taylor last year absolutely smash. But I don't know if they're going to be quite as run heavy this year in Indianapolis. I think that Nyheim Hines is going to be annoying enough for Taylor drafters that he's not going to see that RB1 overall finish. Jefferson's an interesting case at the 101 because, like you see in this format, if you go running back early, there could be that run of wide receivers, and then you're left kind of taking kind of what's left more so than, flag planning, getting your, wide receiver 1 overall type. So I think this year it's a top 3 for me. But Jefferson and McCaffrey would be the preferred choices at one to go 101.
Yeah, I think there's a good argument made for all of them. I agree with your analysis on Jonathan Taylor and having to give up that passing down work to Nyheim Hines. The offensive line is good enough to sustain him as a top-tier RB1, even if he does succeed that passing down work, and we expect him to have double-digit touchdowns this year. Vegas lines actually have him as the favorite for most touchdowns in the NFL for rushing touchdowns, followed by Derrick Henry, and then I think it's Cook as a third, and Mixon. So interesting for Vegas lines. Let's walk through the first round so far. By the time I get to the end, we'll be at the end of the round 1 for the audio listeners. Christian McCaffrey goes to the 101, Jonathan Taylor 102, Justin Jefferson 103. Again, we're drafting from the 4-hole, and we took Stephon Diggs. Yes, we took him ahead of Cooper Kupp and Jamar Chase, who went in the 5 and 6 spots. Dalvin Cook as a third running back off the board at the 107. Devontae Adams at the 8-hole. Austin Eckler slides all the way to the 9th. We see Lamb go in the 10th, and Chad's milking the clock all the way down to the 7-second mark as he's on the 11-hole. So let's see what Chad does. He's been going running back in these drafts. There it is, Najee Harris. He's been doing that pretty frequently here in these drafts. So let's see if he does it again. And if he does, that's been pushing some pretty good wide receiver value down to the second half of the round 2 turn. So which has been kind of nice because typically we see a lot more yellow stickers at the FFWC.
Yeah, it's a pretty typical beginning of the round. I think Harris would be the one where you could see him in the second round. But no real surprises here.
Yeah, second half of the draft is pretty slow. Oh, they stopped it. Did Chad time out? It's usually so. FFWC has a rule: if you time out in the first round, they will pause the clock. They will contact you, and if you do not answer or respond, then they let it roll and go from there. So they at least give you an opportunity to come in, especially in a World Championship draft where people are spending in between $1,400 and $1,800 depending upon the quantity of leagues that you bought. I want to make sure that you're here drafting and that you get the player that you want. Communication in the league looks like they're still trying to contact him. So we'll give it a few minutes. So you and I both like Stephon Diggs. I have him as my wide receiver 2, only behind Justin Jefferson. Where does he fall in your ranks this year?
So I think he's right up there. For me, I like Jamar Chase a great deal. I think he would be very close. Kupp, I don't have him where we see the Jeffersons. I have him right behind Diggs, but I think I do have him pretty high up. I just think with Diggs, I think this could be the year for him in Buffalo. We saw him absolutely smash his first year. Last year he was. I won't say he was we can say it was somewhat of a disappointing year in terms of for fantasy based on where he was drafted. But he was still a great player last year. I just think that everything's coming together, and I think that there's an opportunity for him to lead the league in targets, have double-digit touchdowns, and just smash. I think that a bullish case for Diggs would be like 175 target year, and I think if he does what he did last year, I think he's still a safe guy for 150 to 160 with touchdown upside. I just think it's the third year for him playing with Josh Allen. The chemistry keeps getting better and better, and I think that he's just set to smash. I love him, and I've drafted him a lot this offseason.
Yeah, so 2020, 166 targets. Last year, 2021, 164 targets. We did see a downtick in receptions at 103 last year versus 127. Still had 1,225 yards, but 2020 he had 1,500. 10 touchdowns last year, 8 touchdowns in 2020. So yes, it was a down year in comparison. He still finished as wide receiver number 9 in fantasy points per game versus wide receiver 3 in 2020 with 20.5 that year. So we all know Diggs is a magician with his feet. He has finished outside of his rookie year. He has finished inside the top 15 in points per game at the wide receiver position, except for 2019, where he was 24th. So 2016, it was 14th, 2017, 11th, 2018, 11th, 2019, I just said 24th, and then 3rd in 2020 and 9th last year in 2021. We love the offense. We love the ability of Josh Allen. I think that having another receiver like Gabe Davis, who's going to be ascending this year in 2022, is going to be good for Stephon Diggs, not having to beat as much double coverage. And we expect this offense just to continue its powerhouse ability, and I think that's going to bode well for Stephon Diggs.
I also think adding Cook is going to make. I mean, I like Cook as a target, but whether or not he smashes in fantasy, I think is kind of irrelevant. I think that stylistically, he's going to make that offense more efficient just because of his pass catching out of the backfield, and I think that could also help elevate the wide receivers.
Make sure to refresh your draft room because, I guess it doesn't matter now. Najee Harris is off the board now, but when they throw a player back in after the auto pick like that, you have got to refresh.
So we see 2 of our guys we would have considered here go.
Yeah.
We talked pre-draft about this, and we had an emergency plan. We might have to go to break glass pretty quick.
Yeah. So we were talking about Pittman and A.J. Brown typically going in middle of the second. We were hoping they were going to fall to the end of the second here, and they go at 2-3 and 2-4. So it was wishful thinking, but now we're starting to see some interesting stacks here. So I'm not a big Derrick Henry fan, but at the 2-9, it's definitely a little bit more enticing, but I think it's a trap, so I'm going to stay away from it. And good, he saved it from ourselves. I like Cortland Sutton here. I like Mike Evans here. I probably lean Evans still, just because the Brady tie, but Sutton is definitely in the mix as well.
So I prefer Sutton right now to Evans. So if it's close for you, I'd prefer going Sutton. I'm okay with Evans, but I just think it's the drum beats for Cortland Sutton this year in Denver. I think this could be his year, and I like the idea of combining him with Diggs. So do you want to try to do that?
Yeah, let's take Sutton. I don't own any in the World Championship yet, and I have Evans already, so that's good for my portfolio as well. So I'll lock in Cortland Sutton. That's an easy one.
Awesome.
Which gives us some opportunity the way back, because there's still a couple running backs in here that I'm not sure that the McCaffrey, the Taylor team are going to want to double tap running back in this format. So who knows? Maybe we'll get an Aaron Jones, Javonte in round 3, and then get us our there goes Javonte, but we still have a chance to get us an anchor. If not, we can build a zero running back team. And in this format, it's pretty easy to do, and it's easy to find yourself some late round running back targets, because we're starting 3 wide receivers. We have 2 flex spots. So, potentially and ideally you're starting 5 wide receivers on a weekly basis. And if you get behind at the position, it can get ugly pretty quickly.
Yeah, for sure. It's also really hard to recover at wide receiver through the waiver wire. I mean, you could probably count on one hand the amount of impactful even short-term impactful wide receivers that are going to be available on the waiver wire this season.
Yeah, we are drafting on average 100 wide receivers here per draft at the FFWC. Wide receiver 100, AJ Green and Sterling Shepard range.
You're hoping for a Travis Fulgham type on the waiver wire to save right. You.
Oh, okay. We got. Let's update the audio listeners. So Barkley went to the 111. Chad logged in. Then we had Swift go to the 112. He double tapped running back at the end with Mixon. Chad gets Tyreek Hill at the 2-2. Pittman goes 2-3. AJ Brown 2-4. Najee slides to 2-5. Kamara goes 2-6. Derrick Henry to 2-7. T. Higgins 2-8. We took Sutton at 2-9. Javonte Williams goes 2-10. Deebo Samuels 2-11. Allen Robinson to the 2-12. And that is the completion of the second round. What's your take on Najee this year? I've been fading him.
So I was telling you before the show that I have a Najee at 26 overall.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of people that I consider very sharp drafting Najee, but I haven't been drafting Najee. I think he's still got his. I still think he's got people that view him as like a volume based value. I think he's got a tremendous amount of toughness. He showed he could catch the football. He led all running backs in receptions last year. But yeah, I'm with you. It's for me, it's not so much really disliking him at all. Like I have a ton of Najee in Dynasty, but I just think it's gonna be hard for him to really return a lot of value at his ADP for you. And there's players around him that could be like the league winner. So I have not been taking too much of him. Now, if he falls to the very end of the second round or the very early third, like you might see in Vegas drafts, then I don't mind pulling the trigger. But if it's like Najee against AJ Brown or Michael Pittman, I'm going with the wide receiver.
Well, Aaron Jones slid to us at at round 3. I think is a pretty good smash for me. I do want to check the stack finder real quick. So there are 3 Diggs Sutton teams. So I want to differentiate at this spot. And we have Jones. Where's Aaron? We'd be the only Aaron Jones Sutton Diggs team. So I think that's an easy pick.
I think it's a no-brainer. And I've been a big A.J. Dillon fan. We've talked about this. I think I'm ahead of A.J. Dillon from where you might have him. But I think, Jones is still the best bet. When you get Jones in the third round, you have to do it.
Yeah, Dillon is my running back 20 this year.
So I could see a bull case for him to beat that. And, like, I get it. It's kind of hard to be bullish on both, but I just think that they're both very talented, and I think that the Packers are going to lean on the running back position this year. a lot more than we've seen in the past on Aaron Rodgers' team. So
So
I don't mind taking both.
he was my running back 19. Chase Edmonds finally went ahead of him in my rankings after the Sony Michel news. I just don't think Mostert is going to be the answer, or Gaskins or Salvin Ahmed behind him. So I think that he's going to be, as long as he's healthy, receiving the lion's share of the work there. And I own quite a bit of Edmonds. My boy did a nice little video intro for us, as we saw. But my running back rankings, let me read them to you. And these are edited as of last night. And these are PPR rankings. So Christian McCaffrey, RB1, Jonathan Taylor, RB2, Austin Eckler, RB3, Alvin Kamara, RB4, Saquon Barkley, RB5, Dalvin Cook, RB6, DeAndre Swift, RB7, Aaron Jones, RB8. I have Leonard Fournette, RB9, Derrick Henry, RB10, Joe Mixon, 11, Javonte, 12, Najee, 13, James Conner, 14, Travis Etienne, 15, Zeke at 16, Chubb at 17, Breece Hall at 18. I'm not buying the news in New York. Chase Edmonds at 19, and then I have A.J. Dillon at 20.
There you go. And Billy was the most accurate ranker in the entire country last year. So you should be writing these things down.
Are there any running backs there that you disagree with or would tweak a little bit?
I would have so I have Kamara quite high, but I would have Saquon ahead of him. I just think they're going to lean on Saquon so much in New York, and I think in New Orleans with a healthy Thomas, with the addition of Olave, and with Jameis Winston never being like a massive check down guy, I think that like Kamara is a very safe bet to be a top 10 running back. I just don't know if I see him as like running back 4 overall.
So the difference between those points, and that's an easy adjustment, I'm sure. If I take one catch away that puts Barkley as running back 4, I have him 239.8 fantasy points versus 239.5 fantasy points. So if I take away one catch, it actually moves him to RB number 6, because you have Dalvin Cook, who's also a fraction of a point behind Barkley.
Yeah, I mean, but I think your rankings are good. There's nobody who I see in that top 20 that I think, should be outside of the RB2 range. They're very, very strong rankings. I wonder where you're at right now on Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, because I'm drafting a decent amount of Mike Williams and really kind of avoiding Keenan Allen at ADP.
So I have them at 14 and 15. I have DJ Moore just ahead of them at wide receiver 13. I think this is probably the year we see Mike Williams start to usurp Keenan Allen. I still think Allen's going to be heavily involved as the go-to target for Herbert, just the familiarity there. And we all know that Mike Williams has injury concerns that come along with him. I always joke around and say he's the only player in the NFL who can land on his head and his ass on the same play. And he just goes up and climbs the ladder and lands real hard, and it always scares me. So I have some concerns with Mike Williams with injury, and Palmer is also a damn good wide receiver. So, but they're both inside my top 15, and so I think it definitely could be a possibility where Mike Williams surpasses Keenan Allen this year.
And with Palmer's emergence, I feel like Mike Williams can do a lot more with about the same or slightly less targets. Mm-hmm. But Keenan Allen really needs to be heavily targeted with his low ADOT. So I don't know. For me, I just like I look at like Keenan Allen versus a few of these kind of younger, enticing wide receivers that go around him, and even if it's not like a head-to-head thing, I might go in another direction this year.
Okay, we are about 5 picks away. I threw a few in the queue. Do you like and we're not live, so we can actually talk about these guys. I keep forgetting that. So I threw DK Metcalf in the queue, Rashad Bateman in the queue, Brandon Cooks in the queue, Michael Thomas in the queue. Anyone that you would prefer over those guys?
No, and I would throw Pitts in the mix, but I think we'd be playing catch up at wide receiver for a while. I prefer Rashad Bateman among those guys. But I've drafted a ton of Brandon Cooks. I love DK, and I'm warming to Michael Thomas. It looks like he's healthy. He's ready to go. 29-year-old Michael Thomas I'll be interested to see how much of his former self he can be. But even if he's 80%, he's definitely usable as our wide receiver 3.
Yeah, that's what I've been telling people. 75% of him, and you can be happy in round 5 or 4 at the end of round 4. I don't like it before then, but where we're going to be picking, I think it's going to be about right. I have Metcalf ahead of my rankings than Bateman, but I think there's a real case to be made that Bateman could outperform Metcalf as well. And because if Drew Lock comes in, that's when Metcalf is going to be affected, because Geno Smith and Metcalf had a pretty damn good connection. He was wide receiver, I think, 3 or 4 during that stretch, weeks 5 through 8 last year. But my ownership is also higher on Metcalf. So adding Bateman here would be a good balance, and it doesn't matter. They took him anyways. So damn you, no mercy. Yeah, I'd like to pass Pitts here. I like Pitts a lot, but in this format, you're right. We're going to be chasing him.
I think just DK Metcalf for me here. We're OTC with 35 seconds left.
Okay, let's take DK, and if Pitts makes it back, I say we take him. We'll get a discount on him. Just watch the clock for me, because if you look at the last 10 drafts, Pitt's latest is pick 51. So if we can get him at the latest at 52, I think I'd jump on it, but I don't want to do it before.
Sure. So let's smash DK.
DK Metcalf it is as our wide receiver 3. So just in perspective for those who are tuning in after the fact, and Pitt's average right now is the 4.4 at FFWC, so it would have been a little bit of a discount. But I always ask people, would you rather have Pitts at 4.4, or would you rather have somebody like Irv Smith at 14.4 over here, right? And I love Pitts and his ability, but 10-round discount, or you can even get somebody like Njoku here, whose average pick is 16.3. You can get somebody like Gesicki, whose average over here is 19.7. So there's always the opportunity to get a tight end at FFWC, where we just talked about how scarce the wide receiver position gets because of the 5 wide receiver start on a weekly basis. Yes, you can start 2 running backs, but ideally we're starting 5 in this format. And so tight end definitely gets pushed here, as well as quarterback. I mean, Matt Ryan's average is damn near the 20th round right now.
So it's an interesting argument, because I think that if we did not take Aaron Jones and maybe we ended up with a wide receiver there, I think taking Pitts would have been doable.
Absolutely.
I just think it's hard to go, tight end and RB1 when we don't have our wide receiver 4. So,
yep, I agree with that 100%. Had we taken a Mike Williams there, or even a Gabe Davis, then it makes sense. 100% it does.
And there goes Pitts.
Yep. Not the latest, though. The latest is going to be pick 51.
Where are you at with Waller right now?
I've been drafting him. I think it's his contract is strained, not his hamstring.
Yeah, I agree on that.
And so I've been enjoying the discount. I like him a lot more in tight end premium leagues than over here. He goes on average 7.5. So if we can get him in round 8, I've been taking him in round 8, but I don't like to take him in round 7. So it's this similar conversation. It's like, would you rather have Waller at 7.5 or those other guys that I mentioned earlier? And I typically lean towards the later tight end, just because the availability at the position is there's so much availability here with the position. But if he falls to the 8th, I usually take him.
Yeah, he's interesting. I think if he's there in the 7th, I think we should definitely have that conversation. Because I think it's setting up for him to be very productive in that offense. And you're also getting him now, assuming he's tight end 4 here, you're getting him like 3 rounds after, the top 3. So there's a little bit of a discount in there.
Yeah, so Waller's last 10 drafts, pick 67, that's the latest, 72, 86, 69, 85, 79, 81, 77, 76, 78. His high is 67. His low is 86.
Seems about right.
All right, we are on deck. I like Christian Kirk here, who moved up my rankings after Laviska Shenault was traded. That freed up about 78 targets.
Yeah, I'm big into Christian Kirk here. I think I took him in a draft with Cody Carpentier
Okay.
in the 350, and we got him. I think I think we got him in the 6th round, but it's moot. Yellow's flying off the board, and I
So
think Kirk is going to get a nice target share there.
this is the latest in the entire draft FFWC World Championship for Connor. Connor's average is pick 41, which is going to be the 4-5. His latest is pick 46, so that's going to be 410. Any interest in swooping on the discount, or do you want to just go wide receiver again?
No, I think that's an interesting point, and it allows us to kind of
We
really
have
go wide
10
receiver
seconds.
crazy. Let's go Connor. I like that idea.
Okay. I don't have a lot of Connor, but I think that late I'm willing to jump on it.
No, and I believe you said you have him running back 15. I think that's a good projection for him, and he could even regress in terms of a few touchdowns scored, and he's still an RB1. So I think that he's got a lot of outs to return value where you have him ranked.
Yeah. I just double checked my rankings. You were damn close. 14th.
14. I listened very carefully.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, I listened very carefully.
I believed you. I was like, I don't have it memorized. They're all in spreadsheets, right? And so I was like, oh, that's about right. I think 15 is about right.
When Billy talks rankings, I try to remember everything he said.
Oh man, it was
So
hard to pass on a receiver there.
It's an interesting build though, because I think we have the two running backs, which like they're slightly older, they're a little less exciting, but I think they could both return big time value. It'll be very interesting to me to see how Connor is treated as a receiver. I've also drafted a lot of Eno Benjamin, so I think I'm covering both sides here.
Yep.
5th round Connor is super appealing, and sometimes I've actually doubled down on them, but I think Eno could have like a standalone role. So I don't know, but if they don't go in that direction and Connor picks up, some of the Chase Edmonds receiving work, then he could go nuclear. But I'm not sure if that's the case. I think that Kingsbury likes Eno, but who knows? I think Connor's in a very, very safe spot right now, and they gave him a nice amount of money as well.
So Eno is my running back number 55 right now. I have him in that Mike Davis range, right? And I definitely think that there's room for him to outperform that. So he's like, around the Mike Davis, Tyrion Davis price. And so I like Eno Smith a lot. I think that he has the ability to be a solid number 2 here. We're hearing out of camp that he's already surpassed Darrell Williams. And I'm not sure who gets all that passing down work. I think they're going to give it to Connor. Connor saw 37 targets last year, he had 37 receptions last year, even with Chase Edmonds on the team. So does that go to 45 to 50? And if so, I mean, that's a pretty damn good discount there on Connor. So it's going to be interesting to see how they utilize this backfield. But I definitely think Connor, if healthy, is going to get the lion's share here.
Yeah. There goes Edmonds. So maybe with our Connor pick, we also influence people to go running back a little bit. Billy, a little game theory here.
Yeah. Damn, Chase Edmonds went 5'9". Holy cow, he's been climbing lately.
Yeah, he's a rocket ship right now. People really, really like Chase Edmonds, and I think that there's a lot of sharp money on him. I've loaded up a few guys in the queue.
Okay, let me take a look. I can close the stack finder now that we're past round 5. I have way too many tabs open. Okay. Yep, I like pretty much everybody in the queue except for the last one. I think he's more of a 2023 play.
Further down the line, though, I don't think he needs to go this round. I just queued him up.
Yep, I'm gonna throw a couple more names in here right now. We talked about him too. I think even there, somebody has to catch the ball in Cleveland. I'll add Amari Cooper to the.
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna just order them. Knowing that we could have got Connor in the 5th, I would have gone receiver in the 3rd.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. But at the end of the day, having potentially 2 RB1s is a different way of building, but it still could turn out to be an extremely effective one.
Yeah, definitely agree. What's your take on Godwin this year? I'm going to make him beat me. I just don't have faith in his recovery as fast as they are saying it is.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I feel like there's some sharp people that are starting to really draft him and take him, at cost, auto pick almost every time. I think there's 2 issues. It's kind of like it's a little bit like DeAndre Hopkins, except for DeAndre Hopkins, exactly when he's going to be back. Godwin, it seems like something there could be a recurrence of, where he could come back and then miss time again. So it's a little bit. Basically, you need to have the correct build in order to support a Godwin.
Yeah.
Chad kind of did, though, because he's got 4 wide receivers, and Godwin's kind of a luxury to him here.
Yep.
But like for us, if we would have maybe taken him over, Connor in that range, it would have been difficult because he would have been our wide receiver 4. So I feel like you've got to plan out if you're going to take Godwin. I think it's not the worst idea to take Julio if you're taking Godwin, just because I think Julio could start the year. If Godwin's missing, Russell Gage has dealt with some stuff. I think that Julio could be kind of a guy you could use and as like a bridge to Godwin if you wanted exposure to the Bucs.
Yeah, I think that's a good call.
So our queue is starting to get a little beat up. As expected.
It's so true. It is.
If you queue the right people in a sharp draft, you're going to lose a lot of the queue. It's just part of life.
Yeah, it really is. And this is a sharp draft. We have quite some pretty big names here inside this draft room. Lots of sharp players.
We'll respect the draft anonymity with putting people on guys, but there are some very, very, very sharp people in here. I really would like Chris Olave to get to us. He's a guy I'm very bullish on.
Yeah, I like Olave. I just have some concerns in terms of the pecking order of the offense there and where it's going to land. He definitely has the ability to be like rookie of the year.
So I think for me, there might be some annoying weeks in terms of kind of split targets, but I think that he's explosive enough that he's going to have boom weeks to kind of support it. And like you said, you consider him for rookie of the year. We've seen these rookie wide receivers come in and make huge impacts. Like Jarvis Landry and Michael Thomas are both almost 30. Alvin Kamara, as much as we like him, is a little bit older. That offense needs dynamic speed playmakers, and I think that Olave also meshes well with Jameis Winston. And it's funny because it seems like Olave was on a we got
the only person, the receiver I have ahead of him quite a bit is Hopkins. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge for us to get Hopkins on this lineup because we only have 3 receivers right now. But he's going to completely smash the second half of the season. Olave goes in the middle of the 7th here. Do you want to chance it and see if we can get him back on the way back?
So let's do it. Let's take Hopkins, and then
okay.
I would say we'd load Rondale Moore into the queue as well.
Exactly.
As a fallback plan. And it's a little bit – we can't consider Lockett because we have DK. That would be a little too much Seattle.
The thing I've been doing, too, with Hopkins, if I miss out on Rondale Moore, is adding DJ Chark because we are expecting Jameson Williams back in, like, the middle of November. Fuck it, Olave goes very next pick. Look, there goes trying to sneak him back.
Yeah.
Well, there goes that plan. He's been averaging at the 7.5. So
No, I drafted Hopkins a few times this weekend. I mean, you don't have to twist my arm on that. He's like
So now we got to talk about our bridges with Hopkins. So Rondell Moore is the bridge. DJ Chark, because Jameson is expected back probably around week 8 to 9 is my assumption, and that gives you the first 6 weeks with DJ Chark to kind of really outperform. And we're seeing really good reports at a camp that him and Jared Goff have really been connecting on the deep ball. And most people don't consider Jared Goff a deep ball thrower, but when you have the number one offensive line in football, it gives you the opportunity to throw the deep ball. So I have him there. The other one that gets really interesting here is if Josh Allen makes it back with Diggs here in the 7th round. I think that's the latest that Josh Allen averages 6'1". So it might be his latest, and we could stack it and be done at the position, which is not something I would normally do, especially we're 3 receivers and Hopkins now. But it might be too good to pass up. Let me just pull up his latest is 77. So that would be second latest.
Yeah, I mean, having a Diggs Josh Allen stack would be pretty exciting, especially with the opening game.
Yeah, because we get free looks.
And I think there's a chance that we drafted Diggs at the 104. I think he might be the 101 in some of those crazy drafts on Friday where one guy's going to smash and is going to absolutely move up in ADP. I mean, it could be Kupp too. If Kupp has a smash game, I think he'd be the consensus 101 in a lot of leagues. So, but I'm betting on Buffalo taking care of business on the road, and Diggs having a big game. So I think that where we took him was good. I wouldn't mind a stack. I think it would be difficult to cover up at wide receiver, but I think I think there's enough guys where we could do it if we had to. And there goes Kittle. We're starting to see these tight ends go.
Yeah, and that's a little early for Kittle, so we're actually seeing people just be moved up a bit. It's not much. Oh, there goes Josh Allen. They saved us from ourselves. So
yeah,
I'd consider Waller here. I know that you were interested in talking about him in round 7. I'd consider it here as well. So I think for me, it's going to be between Waller, Rondell Moore, or
Pickens goes. I had him in the queue. Waller gives us such an advantage if he hits and he gets in that upper echelon of tight end.
It does, and if we can make out at receiver and for the first 6 weeks and get Hopkins back, we're going to have a pretty big edge on this because we're already winning at the running back position now too. Let's go ahead and take it. I don't own a lot of Waller, and I don't think I own much. This would be my first World Championship share of him, so let's go ahead and take him. And that is, where'd we say? Let me see, Waller. What was his latest? His average is here. Latest is 86. So that's fine. We're getting him about at ADP.
Yeah. And I think that like we said, it was a contract thing. So I think you'll see his ADP over the final, few days of drafting be right about where we took him or higher.
Yeah. Now we're going to need a double tap receiver on the way back.
100%. So we got into it a little bit on Twitter with Peter Howard coming after our Nico Collins love, which was a little surprising guy that you want to fade. Howard's a sharp guy, and I like reading his opinions, but Nico Collins is like wide receiver 65 on Underdog, and that's seems like an odd person to fade, but
yeah, he's wide receiver 52 here at FFWC.
Yeah, I like him.
I do too. You saw what they were like force feeding him the ball in the preseason, so it looked to be the red zone target. He's a big body, 6'4", and I mean I really like Nico Collins this year, and I think I don't really see a lot of ways for him to not be ADP. Like I was looking at excuses how he's not going to outbeat wide receiver 65.
Yeah, Underdog drafters are extremely low on him. It's just a really, really odd one to fade. And it's funny because you're on DJ Shark. Mm-hmm. His situation, Collins' situation is somewhat like DJ Shark when DJ Shark had his breakout, where he kind of didn't do a whole lot as a rookie, but then broke out really big time. I like that Collins has a history with Pep Hamilton. At Michigan, they were with each other at Michigan. Pep has spoke glowingly about him. Lovie Smith has spoke glowingly about him, and Davis Mills has spoke glowingly about him. And like you said, in the preseason, they look for him, and they said that that's their red zone threat. So we like betting on second-year wide receivers. It's always a good bet in fantasy, but I don't know why people are off Collins, especially how cheap he is.
Yeah, exactly. He's super cheap. It's dirt cheap. All right, let me take a look here at our queue.
So Rondell Moore is gone.
Yep.
Where are you on Jahan Dotson? Jahan Dotson's been a guy that I like a lot.
Yep.
Okay, so we're both on him.
Love Jahan Dotson. I've been taking gambles on Treylon Burks. I'm going to just believe it's the Jamar Chase rhetoric of not being able to catch a football. So I think that Burks' talent will overcome all the bad camp news that we're going to get. So I've been taking the discount on him.
I've been taking Burks over the last few days. I don't love combining Burks with Hopkins. I've done it. I actually did it today. But when you combine Burks with Hopkins, you could be drawing dead 2 ways in week one.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be 6 weeks with Burks. Like I don't see.
Yeah,
how
it could
it's
be
possible.
like a 3-week thing or a 4-week thing, but it definitely adds another layer of complexity to this team if we were to go that route.
Week 3 is Buffalo against Tennessee, and I think two things could happen. I think the Burks breakout might kind of be forced there because they're going to be trying to play catch up with Buffalo, or Buffalo's going to woodshed them, and they're going to have to take a complete look in the mirror at what are we doing at wide receiver, playing Kyle Phillips and Nick Westbrook-Akini over a stud like Treylon Burks. So I don't think it'll be that long.
There's one receiver I just want to put out there right now that I refuse to draft. So I don't care how much you like him, but we're not drafting Sky Moore.
Okay. And I can see that as well. I think that he's like you talk about guys slow out the gate. I think his season could be a little frustrating, at least until 8 weeks in, because I think they're going to use him on design runs. I think they'll get him in the mix, but I think that it's going to be slower out the gate than I think some people realize. And drafters are still, aggressively taking him, but I don't have much Sky.
Yeah, I just don't see a lot of ways that he's going to hit the field. I mean, at best, he's the wide receiver 3. At worst, he's the wide receiver 4. He's still playing behind Travis Kelce, which makes him the 4th or the 5th option in the passing game. I mean, they paid MVS, and I don't particularly like MVS, but when you pay someone $10 million, you're going to give him the opportunity to prove himself first. Juju Smith-Schuster has good reports out of the slot. Mecole Hardman was having good reports prior to his injury, but is back. So there's just so many different ways.
Justin Watson too, Justin Watson is like a name people are kind of discounting, but he's athletic, he's big and fast, and I think for the stuff they do with Kelce underneath, and I think Juju is also going to be able to live underneath on the low 8-out throws. I think having Mecole, MVS, and Watson, I think you're going to see that a lot.
Yeah, I think so. So there's just so many different ways this offense is going to move the ball, and I could see them having specific packages for Moore and specific plays, but I just don't see him being a regular piece of this offense, at least early on.
So how early are we allowed to draft Jahan Dotson in this build? Because I don't want to lose him on this team.
Yeah, so he goes in the 10th, and it's middle of the 10th, so we might have to sneak him in the 9th here, which I'm fine with. Like, we could double tap like Nico Collins, Jahan Dotson here, or we could even throw in a Palmer or
Josh Palmer's in the queue.
Yep.
Julio's in the queue. DJ Shark's in the queue.
Okay. Yep. I like all those. Chark has been sliding a little bit here. He's been going also in the 10th round, so I doubt he makes it back to us in the end of the 10th. But I would rather have a Nico Collins. I'd rather have, although I have him neck and neck in rankings. The other interesting one here is still Claypool, who's still on the board as well. I'm not a big Claypool fan, but
I know you've got me as a stan. We've had this argument over the years, where you pegged me as a Claypool stan. I mean, I'm not like a huge sucker for him this year because I've moved on to Pickens in terms
Yep.
of guy I'm willing to draft. But yeah, this late with Claypool playing the slot, you can kind of galaxy brain your way to seeing him being a hit at ADP here.
Yeah, it's definitely and that's what I'm thinking. It's the slot piece now that it makes me interested in him. Interesting to see J.K. Dobbins slide this late too. I know he's not going to be healthy week 1 probably, but that is really late. But
it's really weird. You see
get
Dobbins,
trapped. We don't need running back.
I'm not. I don't want to take him. I'm actually very nervous about him.
I'm a little nervous too.
It's like you saw this week where I don't even remember which guy on Twitter, and I don't want to call out the analyst, but one analyst posted, and not a massive analyst, like a mid tier level follow, and the guy posted a video of him, running drills and commented on his limp, and JK sent a nasty message, replied, and I'm like, I can't recall a really successful fantasy player that goes and tries to get in arguments with people on Twitter. So it's kind of like, I don't know. It made me feel like maybe he's frustrated and the recovery is not as good. So I don't know. It was just a weird thing to see.
So for me, it's either Claypool here at the slot. I feel like I feel like last year we drafted him on our one team we shared, and it didn't work out that well. It's a redemption pick. I was about to say. So I would like a Claypool share here. It's actually at a discount as well. So actually, it's right around ABP. I just looked at the board wrong. So I'm fine with him here. I'm fine with Julio. I'm fine with Nico. I'll let you pick, but I would lean Claypool at this scenario.
So I would actually lean Julio because I think he gets a good start to the season.
Okay.
You already have reservations about Godwin, and we have DeAndre Hopkins drawing dead week 1 of the suspension. So I would actually lean Julio and take what we can get while he's healthy.
I'll lock it. Yeah, and if he has a bigger first 6 weeks because he's healthy, then great. That's all we need with Hopkins out.
Yeah, I mean, he's a usually when you think of like a bridge wide receiver, it's somebody younger, discounted ADP, but a healthy Julio attached to Tom Brady in an offense that's going to pass a lot, I think that's a bridge.
And as long as we get one of these guys on the way back in the queue, I'm happy.
100%. And then we've actually recovered pretty nicely off of our somewhat robust RB start.
Yep, and early tight end at that.
Yep.
So I think with this team, because of us taking the 2 running backs fairly early, the 3rd and the 5th round, and then taking Waller in the 7th, we're going to have to push the quarterback position to recover as needed at the wide receiver position. And someone I'm interested based upon this build would be Derek Carr to stack with Waller. And Carr over here goes in the 14th round, which gives us plenty of room to kind of make up ground.
I think that's fine. I think Carr is he's not going to hurt you this year. And I think that there's paths where he could, beat his ADP.
And we also have the opportunity to take Brady, who goes in the 11th to 12th round here, which gives us some room to also make up ground. I think we'll play it by ear and see what happens. There's Russell Wilson, who goes in the 12th round here as well. So there's lots of options with this team with quarterbacks. And as we're seeing now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Half the league already has quarterbacks, so it's going to open up quite a bunch of opportunities for us down the stretch.
I've done the Sutton Wilson stack a few times, and I've also done a Wilson Judy stack. Yep. I think that's dangerous, but Carr would allow us to maybe get another piece to the puzzle because you push him a little later. So I'm fine with either. We'll kind of see where this thing goes. Yeah,
let's see where quarterbacks start falling because sometimes you get some pretty big discounts. I've even seen Dak go in late 14 here, which is just crazy.
So I would like to get Dotson. He would be my number 1 here. I know we love Claypool, but let me preface: we love Claypool in this range. But I think that Dotson is just dangerous
I like Dotson. You don't
They're
need to talk me into Dotson. I love Dotson this year. So he's just, sneakily the 17th overall pick in the draft. People keep forgetting about, and the kid's mad talented. He really is. And Wentz, I mean, as much as people hate on Wentz pushes the ball down the field, and so I think that's going to bode well for Jahan Dotson. So you do not need to talk me into it. Let's just snap pick it and make people wonder what the hell.
Snap pick it for sure.
So as soon as I hear we're on the clock, I'm clicking it.
We're moving Dotson's ADP up.
I'm just gonna click right when I hear on the clock. Boom, done.
and you don't need any more DJ Shark. You've got enough. So it's Dotson.
Yeah. You want to guess how much DJ Shark I have over here in the World Championship, percentage wise?
I'm gonna guess 31%.
Try again.
37%.
75%.
Wow. That is called conviction, people. That is called conviction. And
he was going in the beginning like round 13 over here. I mean, at that point, he was going as like wide receiver, 70-ish. And he's climbed in it. At one point, he started climbing around 9. I was like, okay, I'm backing off on Shark. Because I didn't need any more at that cost, right? And so, but 12, 13, 14, I was buying it all day.
Yeah, I mean, 13th round, it's a no-brainer. At 75% makes a lot of sense. And it also makes you sing the DJ Shark song when you're on podcast, Billy, which is...
DJ Shark, do, DJ Shark.
I couldn't get it out of my head for an entire day.
When I was singing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did. I even did it in the article.
And who were you on with that you got to sing the song as well? One guy broke out a little bit of a tune.
Oh, that was. Oh man,
was that RotoWire? Was that a RotoWire pod?
Yeah, that was. Oh my God, why am I blanking on his name right now? Jim Coventry.
Jim Coventry. Yeah, no, a very sharp guy, and it was a very good pod. If anybody's listening out there, definitely highly recommend Billy and Jim Coventry. That was a very good one.
Yeah, that was a fun one. We had a good time at the Kings Classic at the FF Expo. We were sitting next to each other in both drafts, so we drew cards, and we ended up next to each other in both drafts based upon the card draws. So we got to know each other pretty well, and it was interesting to see every time we were on the turn, because we were on the turns on both of them. It was like I would get a player, I'd scratch his name off, and he's like, man, that was the other player I was looking at. And then he would take a player right after me, and I was like, that's the player I was considering as well. And it literally seemed to be, I'd say out of all the turns that we hit, at least 70% of them, we were talking about the same players.
Yeah, no, it was good stuff. It was good stuff. And also two guys singing on a fantasy football podcast. That's worth the price of admission.
Yeah, can't promise you it was good singing, but it was definitely singing.
It was singing. It was not. Yeah. We're not gonna attach anything else with it. What is the latest on Isaiah McKenzie? Have we heard anything today on his status?
I haven't been following much news today. I'm going to be honest. I was with the kids at the pool, but I'm going to pull it up right now as we're talking about it. So, 15 hours ago, update. Why did it just move my whole screen? Nope, has not practiced still.
Yeah,
so I say with a week one, they're probably just managing reps.
Yeah, but if he's out, Jamison Crowder might see, especially with, that early game, he might be interesting.
Well, especially get the free look too. I like.
Yeah.
Is McKenzie still on the board, isn't he?
Yeah, I put him in the queue. So
if DJ Shark makes it back, though, I don't know if I can pass.
No, we're taking him. We're taking him. We're getting you up to 77%.
Oh man. I mean, he was a top 20 receiver prior to his injury.
Yeah. No,
Could you imagine if he returns to that form this year?
Well, you're going to look very, very good if he hits, but he doesn't need to. He can just be a wide receiver 3 for the first 5 weeks, and you've done exactly what you wanted with him.
Exactly, especially as that Hopkins bridge.
And that Lions offense is going to do a lot better than people think.
They are. Yes, they are.
They're kind of an exciting offense. With a healthy Swift, Hawkinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Shark, and then when they get Jameson Williams with that offensive line, by the end of the year, they're going to be really hard to stop.
Yeah, I 100% agree there. Oh man, what's your take on Sony Michel and the Chargers?
So I had this conversation with Nelson Souza, and I think that we split teams together as well, and I think it's interesting. I think we'll know a lot more week 1, but I think if you see him get, a few carries week 1, it means they have a little bit of faith in him. There was like a 2-week period where people had convinced themselves on Josh Kelly. It's weird. It goes Isaiah Spiller. People were very bullish on him, but a lot of people were, and he was going in that range of like aggressively drafted cuffs, and then it looked like that was fake, and then Kelly gets the love, and now Michel's there. So I think Kelly or Michel getting carries week 1 will be telling. Do they view Sony more as an emergency guy? Or do they think that he's better than Kelly and they didn't really trust Kelly and, they want this veteran right behind Eckler, maybe mix in on some carries here and there. So Sony's interesting, and he's going in a range where if you draft him, you can just cut him.
Yeah, so I was not on Spiller even in the beginning when he was drafted to the Chargers. I just said he's a slow big back. Yes, he has hands, but it's not going to translate well to the NFL. And I was off of him. And then he get reports that at camp Eckler was beaten or just beating the drum for Josh Kelly. He's made the most improvements, and then next thing you know, they were saying he's number 2, and Spiller rolled his ankle. And by the way, I snap picked DJ Shark. And then so
no brainer.
Yeah, so we were expecting. For me, I was expecting Josh Kelly, and I was, around 17, 18, 19, it was just a smash play. So as soon as Sony signed, though, I've been kind of on the fence. I still think Josh Kelly is the favorite right now over Sony, but like I had Josh Kelly projected for 145 carries, right? So almost 600 yards, like 560 yards. And so I think that can be easily deducted down to like, 115, 125 range, and probably give, Sony on a low side anywhere of that, 50 to 70 touches. I don't know if that's going to swap though, right? Is Josh Kelly going to get the 75 now and Sony going to get the 115 to 120? And so I'm kind of on the fence there, and I don't know what to do with the scenario. I'd really like a little bit more information before the season starts, but I don't think we're going to get it.
So I do think if you have these big question marks on, some of these backfield situations like Baltimore, like the Chargers, where there's a little bit of question marks between the RB2 and the RB3. If you're drafting in a 20-man format like this, you can double tap them and see where it goes for a week, and see kind of what the usage is, and then move on. It's not as exciting a way to draft, but when you get down to those last few picks in the draft, I mean, those guys are players you'd consider cutting as the season moves along quite often.
I'm more talking for rankings. I'm talking rankings too, because like Josh Kelly, and I'm great for draft too. I think that's a great strategy for drafts. It's kind of like what people were doing with Penny and Walker in the beginning. They weren't sure and they were just double tapping. I hated it, but I saw people doing it and understood why they were doing it. But in rankings, like Josh Kelly was my running back 57, right? And that can be a difference of 20, 30 spots if Sony's going to be involved. So it's a challenging piece. We're on deck. Let's talk here.
So I put a few running backs in the queue.
I like the Hines you have in there.
Yeah. I have Hines in there. I have Rashad White, who's one of my favorite handcuffs. I have Michael Carter, who I'm less excited about than the other 2 running backs. And
I like Raheem Hines quite a bit more than both those guys because he has standalone value.
So let's take him. I think that's okay. I think we like him. We don't need to even talk about it too much. I mean, he's got a real path this year. And I think where we drafted him is good value for him.
So he is, like, just put things in perspective. He is my running back number. Where is he? 40. I have him behind Darrell Henderson.
So I think that he's a usable piece in the flex, but I think that based on what they have behind Jonathan Taylor, if Taylor were to miss, and he doesn't need to go down for the season, but let's say Taylor misses 3 games, Nyheim Hines would be a top 15 play every week.
Absolutely.
So he's a really fun player. And then Rachaad White goes 1 behind him.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's about right. Those guys are pretty close in my rankings as well. I just think Hines has more standalone value. I think White's definitely talented. He was my running back number 3 in this draft class. So I really liked his tape. He just had a fluidity to him that I really liked as well. But I love the standalone value with Hines because now I don't think Hines would get all the carries that Jonathan Taylor would have, but he's going to be mixed in a lot more on 1 and 2 downs.
The 3 that's the former Duke running back. It's Deion. What is it? Deion Jackson. I'd have to look up his name, but he's not being drafted. But Philip Lindsay they cut, and everybody during the summer thought it would be Philip Lindsay. Let's see. Yeah, it's Deion Jackson is the number 3 running back there. So he's a 218-pound back. He played at Duke. So if Taylor was to go down, Hines, I think the whole offense would just kind of change. They would target him and.
My daughter just came in and said hi.
No, it's cool. That's happened to me on the pods, and I also have a dog that sometimes makes an appearance on the Goat District.
My son will just come in and start waving to people.
It's awesome.
Yeah, they've helped me do like a couple drawings and stuff too.
So I'll throw out, just because we already have some Buffalo exposure for that first game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't usually like to draft a second tight end, and I'm not really huge on him, but Dawson Knox could be an interesting player if he falls in this draft to have a little more exposure to that game.
I would say no tight end until the very end of the draft because you're going to get players like Njoku in round 18, 17, and it'll just, in my opinion, it makes the teams weaker over here because, like, for instance, when I went into the shootout last year, I was able to pick up Hunter Henry off the waiver wire.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Tight ends just aren't drafted as much over here.
I put Alec Pierce in the queue for wide receivers. I like him a little bit. I think that he's interesting to start the year because I think he is explosive, and I think that he'll be the second most targeted wide receiver in Indy.
Yep, I like Pierce. I also like Marvin Jones is vanilla, but he's going to be the number 2 option in Jacksonville.
That's very on brand for you. I think you've been drafting Marvin Jones for about 6 years in a row, so why not make it 7?
You look at, the targets have to go somewhere, right? And I don't think Zay Jones is going to see 100 targets, and I don't think Evan Ingram is going to see 100 targets, and we're going to see an increase probably for Dan Arnold a little bit as well. But I like Marvin Jones is going to see 110 to 120 targets probably because of the way this wide receiver core is. Let me read this wide receiver core real quick, and I'll kind of read you the projections I have for him. So I have Christian Kirk at 125 targets. I have 83 receptions, 950 yards, and 6 scores. It's wide receiver 31. I have Marvin Jones at 110 targets. I have him at 72 receptions, 850 yards, which is modest in my opinion, 5 touchdowns, and that's wide receiver 43.
Yeah, I've actually double tapped the Marvin Jones, Zay Jones, Jacksonville wide receiver pairing
because you're going to get a number 2 out of one of them.
Yeah, and I think that Marvin Jones is always underrated in drafts. It's every single year.
It's not pretty. It's not like he's the sexy pick, but he's going to be, consistently a wide receiver 3.
Yeah, and I think Trevor Lawrence is going to take a big step forward this year.
Oh,
So I
absolutely.
think the veteran wide receiver there in Jones, yeah, I've drafted him. It's always boring, but it always makes sense. You can never have enough wide receivers in this format, and it's going to start running out of like guys you're excited to draft as well. Uh, where are you at on KJ Hamler? I kind of like Hamler when it gets to this range of wide receivers as well as the number 3 in Denver. He has trouble staying on the field, but if anything were to happen to Sutton or Judy, I think Hamler could be very usable.
Yeah, he's in this range. I have him as wide receiver 68. We're already seeing that range of receivers go off the board. Just based upon my rankings, I have Marvin Jones significantly higher. And that's the reason. I mean, I love it just because every year I have him higher, and every year he finishes higher than all these guys that he keeps going around. But Hamler scares me a little bit because there's also I'm not saying to go out and draft this guy, but Seth Williams is there, and he fits more of that Patrick role than Hamler does in terms of like route tree. So I think there's a real possibility that eats into Hamler's touches, but I think that Hamler is definitely in the discussion here. But I would say I'd prefer Marvin Jones, and we also now have 7 receivers, so we also have to start looking at running backs a little deeper as well, and then we got to start considering quarterback. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. So only 4 teams need quarterbacks, and there's quite a bit of quarterbacks that I still like. So Brady, Wilson, Dak, and Stafford, Carr are all there. So we actually don't even need to look at it anytime soon.
So we have Khalil Herbert in the queue.
Yep.
I added Raheem Mostert, and I also added Eno. I like this team enough that potentially handcuffing doesn't scare me.
I was hoping to get Herbert there.
Yeah, Khalil was tough. That was a tough one.
Yeah.
I think if we take Marvin Jones, one of these running backs will be available to us when we pick again. What do you think?
I like that call. Let's go ahead and lock that in. And then I actually prefer Eno out of the running backs you have in there. Now we're down to one other one. But let's throw a couple more names in there. There's that.
Well, we're putting this on later. We can say the name right at this point.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting we're not live. Yeah, we got. So I threw in Tyrion Davis-Price as well. I threw in Mike Davis, Samir White, Amir Abdullah. I prefer Eno Benjamin and Raheem Mostert over all those guys. But as we start kind of adding more green in here, I think those are other names that I'm interested in. Let me filter by running back so it's a little easier to find. The other one I've been doing lately is double tapping. So similar to what you said earlier, is doing Tyrion Davis-Price and Jeff Wilson.
I like that. I've done the Mike Davis, Kenyon Drake.
I've been doing that one a lot too. Chad's been stopping me from doing it in a lot of drafts, though. He's been taking one early because he knows I've been doing it.
And then I've done a few times throughout the offseason, I've done the Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott double tap. I think it's just a general Miles Sanders fade and can he stay on the field type thing.
What's your opinion on Trey Sermon there now? I feel the same way.
It's not really scaring me, and I think
I could sense it in the breath.
And I think that it's kind of funny because you're talking about a young guy who was a day 2 pick a year ago, being less scary to me than them like saying, Jordan Howard, we have a role for you again. Yeah. So it makes me like Kenneth Gainwell more. I mean, I've drafted Gainwell probably the most, and I have some Sanders when he falls as well. And then Boston Scott is just so cheap. And we saw Scott have, 6 touchdowns last year? So he's not disappearing.
Yep.
So I'm pulling up the QBs. And there goes KJ Hamler.
Yeah, we're in that range.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're actually. I mean, I love our wide receivers, and I think we have enough that we can kind of pivot over for like the next 2 picks, maybe the next 3 picks.
Yep, Stafford just goes. I think I like Russell Wilson with Sutton here.
I like Russell Wilson, but I will say that you have Dak and Tom Brady available. If you wanted Eno,
yeah, that's true too.
then this would be the time to take Eno and have that. We would be guaranteed the Cardinals running back.
Let's do it. I like Eno a lot. You don't need to talk me into Eno.
Yeah.
I have like 24% Eno, 25 to be exact. There it is.
That's awesome. And a lot of that 25 was when he was not named the backup. So you probably have a lot of late Eno. That's great. Exactly. That's really good.
Yeah, let's go ahead and let's lock in Eno. Russell Wilson just went anyways, so that gives us whoever falls to us on the next pick back. We're probably going to see I would not be surprised to see somebody try to block us, but it doesn't matter because we can still pick up Carr, Dak, or Brady.
Yeah.
So somebody would have to take a second quarterback, which is going to hurt them more than us.
Yeah, I like Carr as a fallback option. I think I'm Dak slightly ahead of Brady with the tiebreaker being that we have Waller. So having the Carr-Waller connection every week would be – or excuse me, having the Carr-Waller connection would be nice, but Dak is my preferred. And I'll also add if we take Dak – I'm not sure there's really any late correlation. Are you into Noah Brown super late? It seems like they kind of like him.
Yeah, I have a few Noah Brown Simi Fehoko teams where I just double tapped them both at the end.
Yeah.
Hey, because over here, it's you can easily do it, right? And they're my last 2 picks, so I got to add a kicker and a defense. So hopefully we get a little clarity here this week, and we get to see the official depth charts, and I'll have to cut one of them for sure. But I think that Noah Brown definitely has an opportunity this year.
Yeah, Fehoko seems to me more like just a downfield guy. He's like a big Stanford wide receiver. Brown seems like he can kind of do a little bit more of the Michael Gallup role, like a poor man's. And I think Tolbert would be my second choice in terms of, who I would rather roster. But I think, again, it seems like Tolbert's behind. So at least to start the year, I think Brown might be a guy we're adding on waivers. So I'd rather draft him and take a look for a week than try to spend a little money to get him the following week. And there goes Brady. So
now every team has a quarterback except us, and there's still quite a few I like.
So we could kind of chance it with the next pick and kind of dare somebody to take QB2, or we could be safe about it. Yeah. I say
dare it.
Yeah, let's dare it.
Dude, you don't need to tell me a quarterback. I'll roll out Carson Wentz in round 20.
I've been in a draft with Billy where he take his first QB in like the 19th round. Yeah. I have seen Billy draft Baker Mayfield as his QB1. I've witnessed it.
I have a draft on FFWC over here where I did not take a quarterback, I did not take a tight end, I did not take a defense, and I did not take a kicker, and all I did was draft wide receivers and running backs the whole way down.
Well, we're extremely balanced right now in terms of having Waller and all that. So I don't want to get that skanky at the QB position, but I think that Prescott and Carr is fine.
I can see the sweat dripping down Theo's forehead right now.
Yeah, the idea of turning on week 1 and seeing somebody like that is scary.
Where you have 4 ads on Wednesday before the Thursday game.
Oh man,
I have teams like that out there that I have to do that. I have all these ads already.
Well, Kirk Cousins and Trevor Lawrence, I added just in case.
Okay.
Would you be are you Cousins and Lawrence ahead of like Justin Fields?
Yes. Yeah, I have. Yeah. I'm actually fairly high on Cousins this year. Like, to be exact, let me pull up my rankings. Cousins is I have him behind Stafford as quarterback 13, Carr at 14.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan at 15, Lance at 16, and then I have Tua at 17, Fields at 18.
And where do you have Aaron Rodgers?
Rodgers, I actually have at 11. It's just hard. I understand people are down on him, but I still think it's Aaron Rodgers. He's the back-to-back
Yeah.
MVP, even with just the complete shit he has at the wide receiver position. He still has Aaron Jones and Dillon, who are going to be heavily involved in the passing game, and I still think that he's going to finish as a back-end quarterback one this year.
Yeah, I mean, I have not done it yet, but I think that there would be something to be said about building a few Aaron Rodgers stacks. You could do it with Lazard, Dubs, a running back, and Rodgers, and you could do it for pretty cheap. Yep. I just haven't done it, but I'm considering trying to build one or two of those just to have it, because I think it's going to be very rare. And if he really does elevate these wide receivers, then you could be sitting on something pretty good, as long as you drafted the correct running back. If we're saying one of them's really going to crush his ADP, if you drafted the correct one in that, you could have a really, something pretty scary. I do think that their defense is going to be very good in Green Bay this year, which could make the game scripts, a little shaky. But you're right. He's Rodgers.
Yeah, and he's always been a better real life quarterback than a fantasy quarterback, but he still puts up numbers, and it's not. He's not going to be the quarterback one, but he can be a quarterback one.
Yep. So we have Tyrion Davis-Price, Mike Davis, and Kenyon Drake at the top of the queue. I'd be okay taking one of those guys and pushing QB one more round.
Yep, let's do it. So I'm
sorry. I don't mind doing a double tap of QB. And having two of these guys we kind of like. To give us
you're going to see. I'm going to be. I mean, you're going to have Matt Ryan on the waiver wire. You're going to have Justin Fields even on the waiver wire in this league. So you don't have to take two quarterbacks in this format. Very rarely do people take two quarterbacks. You might see 4 or 5 teams take two quarterbacks here. So you're gonna, but you're not going to see 6, 7, 8 like you do in some other formats.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I just think it's to me. I don't mind carrying. I don't mind carrying two, because I think we've covered up so well at wide receiver.
Yep.
If we were trying to take the bottom of the barrel wide receivers right here, I think that would be a little bit of a harder sell. But I think that if you could have like a Dak Rodgers, something like that, and be able to play. And again, it's not always the most fun thing to try to play weekly matchups. But I think, if you do it right, you could potentially see some reward doing it. But I'm fine just going single QB.
Do you want to do the double tap like you mentioned, Davis and Drake here?
I think that this is a good time to do it. So game theory wise, which one do you take first? I think it's still probably Davis.
Yeah, Davis ADP. I think Drake probably has the better shot to outperform it, but Davis ADP is right here where Drake is another round.
Yeah, I've seen people take Drake before him, but I agree with you. I think we go Davis.
Okay, I'm gonna lock it then. Yeah, if we can get like around 17, like Carr, Aaron Rodgers, like that's, I'll take it.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. And I'm looking at the kind of break glass in case of emergency wide receivers. See if there's anybody we want to prop up.
There's like Curtis Samuel, who I think has a really good shot at outperforming ADP. There's Devin Duvernay. There's the Velus Jones, who we talked about off air.
Yeah, I've been meaning to draft a Velus Jones share. I wouldn't mind doing that. I think we can wait.
Yeah, his ADP over here is 19.4.
And he could be a guy that never does anything this year, fantasy wise. But I think they're gonna use him on special teams. He's exciting. I just don't think they have enough playmakers that they can afford not to at least see what they have in him. And if he breaks a big play or two, he could be he could be an annoying player like a Ted Ginn type for fantasy.
Yep.
But he definitely has a little juice when the ball's in his hands.
4th and 3 sniped our stack. He took Drake.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there goes that opportunity.
I wouldn't mind Jalen Warren as an upside handcuff.
I like Warren a lot. I have quite a bit of him.
And I think this is a good range if you want to take him. 15th round seems about right.
Yep, I have 12% already. I'm okay with more, definitely.
Okay, good.
The other one I've been adding late that we can start, like we can look at it like round 18 or even 17.
Wait, let me guess before you say it. Is it a Kyron Williams?
It is.
Because I'm on Kyron as well, and I just read your mind.
Yeah, you get free look, and if nothing happens, you just drop him, pick someone else up, right?
Yep. And McVay's already talking about him, saying he's a part of the weekly game plan. So, what does that mean? Does that mean he's the third running back, and maybe we want to get him on a series or two, or is that we have plans for Kyron Williams and we like him a lot? Because
let's take Warren here first.
Yeah, Warren. I think we take Warren. But like Kyron is funny because we play Dynasty. Like Kyron was before all the combine and everything. People had Kyron way up the running back ranks, and then he ran the really slow 40 time, and it made people kind of forget about him. But if you watch his film, he catches the ball very, very well, and he was a very productive college player. So I don't know. It's he's intriguing. He's really intriguing.
We are officially at the latest Dak Prescott has gone. His latest prior was 161. So I would love to see if we can get him at the 16 or 17.
I mean,
or
we're
even
daring
Derek
somebody.
Carr. Derek Carr's
we
previous late is 189, which is our next pick.
I think if we survive the Lance team and the Brady team, I think he's ours.
There goes Dak right there, 15-6. That's the latest now.
Oh, never mind. Well, I hope they enjoy having a backup to Justin Herbert. Was it worth it, guys? Was it worth it?
That's why I said we might see a couple here do it, but either way, we're still going to get a pretty damn good quarterback. There's still Carr, Rodgers, and Cousins on the board. I got Cousins in round 20 in one of these.
And I have Trevor Lawrence because we have the Marvin Jones, Trevor Lawrence stack. That would be
definitely makes sense. Yeah, Zay went 13-6. I forgot to even look for him. How you feeling about the team so far?
So I like our team. I like the fact that we have Eno because I feel really strong about the Connor Benjamin combination. I think potentially, out the gate we could have two RB1s. I think for me, our team is if DK Metcalf can beat his ADP and challenge for wide receiver one range and kind of make the naysayers say I'm kind of a QB proof player, then I think this team is really cooking with gas. But even if he doesn't, I think we have enough that we can survive until DeAndre Hopkins. And then when Hopkins comes back, I think this team has some juice.
So we're starting to see a couple teams take two quarterbacks here.
Well, if they want to block us, they can block us, but we'll get somebody.
Yeah, like I said, I'm fine with Trevor Lawrence. I'd even be fine adding Matt Ryan here because we have Nyheim Hines. And we could look at somebody like a no, he already went. I missed him.
Yeah, we'll put Matt Ryan in there.
I mean, solid offensive line. He's got weapons.
So the Lance team might take Carr here.
And there goes Rodgers.
Yep.
I still like Warren over those guys right now, even though we probably should have taken one, but I'm still fine with it.
You have Jared Goff for your DJ Shark stack.
Yeah, you know I like Goff.
100%.
Chad probably double taps tight end here.
There goes Isaiah Likely.
Yep.
And you're starting to see people take Likely. I think I saw you tweet out that you thought he was going to be the number one most added tight end in waivers, in leagues with preseason waivers.
Yep.
I agree with that. But like you see Likely go ahead of Hunter Henry, Gerald Everett, David Njoku, Tyler Higbee, even with the free look. So it's, people are bullish on Likely being that number 3 target with tight end eligibility.
He looks like a wide receiver out there, and it
Yeah.
made me. You look at it, and they didn't add really any receivers outside of what's his name, Denard Robinson, and so makes you wonder why didn't they add a receiver? And then you see Likely blow up in the preseason, and you say, that's why they didn't add a receiver, right? And it just makes you wonder how much 12 personnel are they going to run, and are they just going to throw Likely out wide and let him be like a Kyle Pitts light? Right?
Yeah. So he catches the ball extremely well, and I think that his testing numbers were poor, but when you watch his actual football speed, like he makes defenders miss, and people might say he's doing that against backups, but they're NFL players. And the stat that got to me was no tight end who's ever had more than 99 yards receiving in a half in a preseason game has finished lower than tight end 20. So like, I don't know. It's a very interesting stat. But for me, I'd like to go Trevor Lawrence if he's there for us with all these people going 2 QBs.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, or we just take Kyron and then dare these guys to take both. They'd have to take 2 out of the 3 would have to take a quarterback here for us not to get Trevor or Matt Ryan.
Do you have Matt Ryan that close to Trevor? I just think Trevor has a little bit of unknown upside and rushing ability.
I have Matt Ryan 3 spots ahead of Trevor, but Trevor makes sense for the team with our Kirk. Oh, we didn't get Kirk. That's right.
We did not get Kirk, not this draft. I'm okay. I'm okay getting Kyron here, and going Lawrence or Matt Ryan if they're there. I don't know if there's I don't know if I would be too happy about. I guess
at that point, then we would take 2, and we could take a Fields and a Tua, or a Fields and a Goff, and a Fields and a Winston.
I think a Fields and a Winston would make sense.
Okay, let's take Kyron, let's gamble, and let's hope one of these 2 quarterbacks make it back, because we just saw 1, 2, 3, 4 go. At this point, we might as well stick to our guns.
Yeah.
I think we get one of them.
Fields is kind of interesting. I would have thought that I would have been drafting more Fields. I just have a lot of reservations about that offensive line.
Yeah.
I think that the coaching staff kind of gets it. So I think he'll be able to rush for some yards, but I don't think he can really smash ADP just because I think he's got limited weapons. There you go. So there's Trevor Lawrence.
That's one of
All right,
2.
we're looking at Matt Ryan.
Ryan, Fields.
We're hoping for Matt Ryan, Fields, and Winston would be the not so exciting pick here. I think we should double tap it though. This is a crazy QB league where everybody's going to be rostering 2. I think double tapping it makes sense.
We can double tap it.
Okay, cool. Gosh, the Trevor Lawrence one hurts a little bit.
In hindsight, I probably regret the Warren pick now.
Yeah. Dak would look pretty good right now.
Dak would look pretty good right now.
We'll be okay. We'll be okay.
Oh, we're definitely going to be okay.
If we end up with Matt Ryan and Michael Pittman if we end up with, I don't know, do you want to go Matt Ryan or Justin Fields? I'm kind of having a little,
I mean, we could shoot for upside and hope for the rushing ability. I mean, this team, we might as well go, zero rubber and just hope for Justin Fields to be Justin Fields that we thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
And then we could add Velus Jones in as There you go. They took that
There goes
opportunity
Fields
from us.
Okay, so we're if this person takes Matt Ryan, then we're Jameis Winstoning.
Then we're Jameis Winston. Yep.
I'm actually hoping you have me hoping for Matt Ryan here. So okay, so
I am 100% comfortable with Matt Ryan. I think I love it.
No, I think it's fine. Matt Ryan, I think he's going to be productive, and we like the offense. We have the sneaky Nyheim Hines stack.
I got Theo sweating right now.
I'm definitely sweating, but whatever. Matt Ryan is the fallback. He's fine. I'm not like
plan
all right,
executed.
Here we go. We got a quarterback.
And you know what? We have the quarterback who could easily be a high-end quarterback too, and we have the handcuffs that we wanted. Yep. For all the running backs.
And if Kyron Williams comes out on that first night and looks like he's a thing, we're going to be super happy about that.
Exactly.
But that was definitely a little bit of the board punishing us. I'm convinced that at some point they said, forget it. We're just going to take QBs.
Yeah, we're not going to let them get away with this.
In this format, you also are going to see people cut QBs because people, will want to pick up waiver wire ads, and you can't really afford to cut a wide receiver unless he's completely dust or hurt. So we just need like a Lawrence or a Fields to get dropped, and we'll be okay. But Matt Ryan, week 1, that's fine.
All right, so we have our quarterback. We have our tight end. We could throw on. So we're going to need, I'd say, because we're this close to week 1, we might as well just draft our defense and our kicker.
So I like the New Orleans Saints defense because I think they're set it and forget it. I like the Denver Broncos defense.
Love the Broncos.
If you want to go with a matchup for week 1, Baltimore has the Jets. Yep. And I think they might smack them. It's Flacco against Baltimore. But Broncos and Saints, you wouldn't have to. To me, they're both defenses that you might not ever have to stream. They might just stick. So that makes it a lot easier.
And then over here, it's team kicker. It's not individual kickers.
Kicker-wise, I mean, you got a ton of guys available right now. But obviously Cincinnati, Las Vegas, and then you get the free look teams. That's always fun. Some kicker might have a big game.
I haven't even looked at the chat. Looks like there's some chat going on in there.
Let's see.
It's primarily the commissioner, but Roy.
Yeah, nothing too good in the chat.
Nope. So the question is, do we want to take our second quarterback or do we want a second tight end? There's still some options at both positions. I would be fine rostering one quarterback because you still have the likes of Tua, Jameis Winston, Goff, Baker, Mills, Mac Jones on the waiver wire. And like you said earlier, people are probably going to drop a second one.
I will say Jameis Winston, I wouldn't mind drafting here because he's never finished lower than quarterback 14 any year he's been a starter. And, you're into Kamara. You're into Michael Thomas. I love Olave. That offense could be better than people think. So I think that Winston would be interesting to me as a guy who could be a QB1, and you're getting him this late.
Yep, I'm fine with Winston. And then that leaves us plenty of tight ends in the waiver wire. There's still Austin Hooper.
Yeah.
There's Tunyon. There's Brevin Jordan. Noah Fant.
Brevin Jordan, yep.
Yep, tons of tight ends out there still. So if anything happens, Waller, for some reason, contract, they say he's not playing week 1. I doubt it. But if anything did happen, there's lots of options there for a Sunday pickup.
And you could also add Foster Moreau.
Yes, you could.
As a week, that would, if there was no Waller, Moreau would be like tight end 15 for you, something like that.
That'd be tough. I wouldn't say 15. I'd probably put him more in that like 19 to 22 range, but just because I'm not sure how much how much are they going to focus him when they still have the Adams there, they have Renfro there. I think you'd see an uptick in Renfro usage week 1.
Yeah, Renfro would move up big if there was no Waller.
Exactly.
Team kicker wise, do you like getting one of the free look teams? If
I
they're
do.
there,
Yeah. Anytime I can get the free look on the kicker, I'll take it. And if it doesn't work out, I'll just drop him.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And you see Buffalo go, so if the Rams are sitting around, I think we go Winston here, and then maybe go team kicker next pick. Or is there somebody you want to get?
I'm good either way. Let's take a look. If Broncos are there, I'd kind of say just lock in Broncos because I love the defense.
Yep.
Because like kicker wise, I mean, a kicker that's always there is like the Vikings kicker, and I think that
it's only if you want the free look, because I don't think
exactly.
that like the free if you want the free look, I think we do it. But again, having a set it and forget it defense is probably the better it's the better long-term play for sure.
Yeah, Matt Gay kind of sucks.
Yeah, but it's going to be an efficient offense. I think it's one of those things where it's hard to predict, who finishes as the kicker 1. I mean, Justin Tucker is always a safe bet, but like you'll see like the Rams kicker usually like somewhere in that 6 to 8 range drafted, just based on we know that offense is going to score points.
Yep.
But yeah, I actually like taking the Denver kicker. I like McManus, and I think that that offense is going to be able to move the ball a lot. I've taken them a lot in terms of kickers. Everybody's got kind of like their pet team.
There goes the Rams kicker.
Okay, so we're going to take a defense here, or we could take Winston.
Well, these guys.
The Kyler Murray team. The only thing would be the Kyler Murray team and the Josh Allen team. We have to survive Kyler.
Let's just take Winston.
Okay.
I think it secures the quarterback. Gives you a little bit of comfort there as well. I'd be fine taking Broncos here.
Well, let's look at
Indy. Indy's an elite defense.
Indy also has a great early season schedule.
Yeah. And they get to play Houston twice, Jacksonville twice.
Well, actually, it looks like Indy was taken.
Oh, that's the kicker. God damn it.
Yeah. Let's double tap. Well, we could risk it here because 2 teams have gone 2 QB. Let's take Denver defense. Defense.
All right, let's do it.
And if the Josh Allen team would be the only team that would maybe take Winston, and if they don't, I think we take Winston on the way back. And if not, we'll go single QB.
Okay, I like that call.
Because I don't think there's another quarterback that we would need to roster.
Nope, you could just pick them up on waivers.
Even if everybody's rostering 2 QBs, for the most part, I don't think we need to. Like Tua, I don't know. I don't see a huge need to do that right now. All right, let's hold our breath here. Got to survive here.
Overall, we cleaned up well at wide receiver. We taking Waller, like I said, I don't have any Waller shares yet in this World Championship at least. So that's my first Waller share, and I like where we got him because you look at the receivers who went after him. Rondale Moore, Lockett, Burks. I think Waller's an edge there. So it worked out nicely. Overall, I think this team has juice, like you said. If Metcalf can outperform ADP, which I have him as I think my wide receiver 19 in my rankings. So if he can actually hit at that wide receiver 19 range, this team has some serious juice.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a fun build. We need Aaron Jones to kind of hold up, or we need
he took Goff.
Nyheim Hines. Okay, so we survived.
Yep. Theo has a sigh of relief.
Well, he knows your love of DJ Shark, so he thought he was going to stick it to you.
Yeah.
Little does he know, we planned on drafting Jameis Winston in the 19th round all along. Well, you never know what's going to happen in these high stakes drafts. You have to roll with the punches and take the value. So, I
this
think
is actually some of the most quarterbacks I've seen go off the board in a draft, and I think it's probably because we pushed it so hard. All right, Winston, it is.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, and we'll look at kickers now. Plenty of kickers still.
Yeah, tons of them. I wouldn't mind having the double Denver special teams. We have the defense take the kicker.
I also like Patriots kicker because Bill Belichick never goes for it.
Little Nick Folk.
Yeah.
He crushed last year.
Yeah, he did.
There was one game I won a huge playoff game where I was going up against Josh Allen, and it was the weather game, and I had Nick Folk and I forget who else, and we outscored Josh Allen. It was amazing.
It was like his 25-point game or something like that.
That was it was. I don't even know if he hit 25. That was a low scoring game, and that was the one where the weather conditions were unplayable.
Oh, it was when they ran the ball 43 times.
Yeah.
I think it was week 15.
And people said Folk was not going to be able to kick field goals in that game because the wind and the conditions. Yeah. And I think he nailed a 40-something yarder to start the game. And I was tilting the entire time. It was a big one. It was like one of those games where you're guaranteed cash if you win that one because you've made it to the championship.
Yes.
So it was big.
So you saw the thumbnail I made for today, the whale hunting thumbnail?
Yes.
I'm going to show it to
sense, they hunted us a little bit, Billy.
They
hunted. Yeah, they hunted. You should cross it out and say the hunting of the whale hunters. Because the QBs, they really hunted and really jammed us a little bit. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
There it is. So, I mean, in essence, Moby Dick does have that reputation. So I think it works both ways.
And the guy holding the harpoon is somewhat Billy Muzio looking. That could be like a cousin of yours with the beard and the hair.
I almost put your head on him.
That would have been funny.
I was gonna take your. I still have time. I could just cross.
I just hope I'm not the one in the corner getting knocked off the boat. I hope I'm one of the guys sitting there steering the ship, and not one of the guys getting killed by the whale.
No, we're on the boat in the back, right there, the big boat.
Good. Okay. Good.
Oh man, that's pretty funny.
The harpoon guy. That's Billy. That should be your new little Twitter picture. Should be you holding a harpoon, chasing whales all season.
Oh man, I'm cracking up.
Damian Williams goes. I'm starting to see Damian Williams get drafted a lot more. I think people are like, the Tyler Algier is he's got people who are really into him, but again, it seems like Williams is going to have a passing down role.
He's going to be I own a lot of Damian Williams. I've been taking him in around 1920s since the beginning of the season. You've
been taking Damian Williams for 2 years now, Billy. You're
yes.
Yeah.
So I own 50% Damian Williams in the World Championship just because it's a last round dart throw, and if it hits, then he should honestly be a round 13 pick. And the other one's Burkhead. I've been doing that a lot. 1920 Burkhead, Damian Williams has been my go-to kind of double tap. I've
seen some sharp people doing that with Burkhead. where I
He's
think that
the
like
third down back here now.
yeah, yeah, 100%. And also, like, Dameon Pierce never handled a huge rushing load in college. Like, he looks like the kind of guy who can do it. He looks very good rushing the football. But who knows how he's going to hold up in the NFL.
Yep. We're on the clock, so the question is, do we just want to take our Broncos stack here and go Broncos defense, Broncos kicker, and then I think that's the way we do it because we're at mile high kicking too.
Yeah, and if that offense is there's a scenario where they move the ball very well, but it takes them a couple weeks to start getting going with the touchdowns. You could see a little bit more McManus, and that opening game in Seattle will be like an emotional game. It's going to be an interesting opener. So you could see a lot more field goals opening game as well. So I don't mind the build, despite getting jammed at QB. I think this team's got some juice, and I think we'll be right there at the end.
I think so too, especially if one of these running backs also hit. If Warren or Williams hits, or even if Mike Davis is involved, or Eno is a good handcuff for Connor. So I think overall, I think the build worked out. It's a little different from how I normally build teams over here. I'm usually more of an anchor guy, but I love where we got Aaron Jones. I love where we got Connor. I think the discounts on both of them were just too good to ignore. That's the new previous low, or that beats the previous low for Connor, and it's the new low now at ADP. So we officially have the cheapest share of Connor in the World Championship.
That's awesome.
Well, Theo, thanks for coming on, buddy. Appreciate you having us. It was great hunting whales here today. Again, we're on the back of the boat. We're not with the harpoon or the one in the mouth. So for everyone who's curious, and I always enjoy your insight on players. And the different way of approaching drafts and how we're able to build teams together. So curious to see how it does.
We draft against one another on this week on a Thursday night. So from partners to foes for about 2 hours.
At that point, now you are now the boat in the mouth, and I'm going to be the whale.
You are Moby Dick.
So let's get this off so we can see our faces now. So again, thanks for coming on, buddy. Let's wrap up the show here, and we'll talk in the back screen. Take care, everybody. We're going to be in Vegas next week, so no pods unless I bring something live. So take care, everyone. Good luck in your drafts.